toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Party just
Welcome,
about to happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smoking and Toasting. So right
that
there.
was a particularly good well, by the way.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed
that
that.
one. You kept that one going just a little bit longer than normal.
You know,
it was right
sometimes
on, man. It was the right time.
So I think it's because I'm excited because it's October. We're actually going to get some cooler temperatures, and it's actually
it got down to 80-ish the other night.
Yes, but it's about to actually start feeling. I don't know if I can go so far as to say a nip in the ear, but the lack of sweaty, omnipresent humidity all the time, and more importantly than that,
the lack of swampy underpants.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. That's right. But even more importantly than that, it's October, which means it's the appropriate time to drink Oktoberfest, which you were kind enough to bring in as our show beer. We do show beers on the show are the ones that we're not necessarily reviewing or doing.
Yeah, we're just drinking them on the show.
We're just starting the show. Think of them as a palate warm up.
Yes,
beer of sorts. So welcome to the program. Our show's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Welcome to program number 348, which is...
That's almost exactly halfway to 400.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that.
It's an exponential division.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
It's logarithmic division, if you will.
Just when you thought you were going to be allowed to smoke again, there's trouble in cigar land.
So is everywhere going to be like California now?
You mean
where you can smoke anywhere you want,
right?
As long as it's not outside or inside.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for. Yeah. No, this bill, we'll tell you about it.
Unless it's weed.
This bill that we thought was completely settled about premium cigars being exempted from this FDA regulation, that's now being appealed. Like, are you serious?
Really?
We were told this was like over and done.
That's outrageous.
We'll get into the details of that. That is outrageous. Tell you what else is outrageous. Some of the stuff we're going to taste on the program today. Ooh. We are going to be trying something I am actually really excited about from Back Pew Brewing Company right here in Houston, Texas. We'll be trying their Blue Testament American Pilsner.
Yes.
Have you had this?
It's been a while.
Okay.
It's been a while. That one's been around for a little while, though. Back Pew's been around for quite a bit.
Yeah, I like a lot of their stuff. I really do.
They have a Bach. They have one called Seder Swill that I've had.
Yes.
A bit
that's really good. Odell Brewing Company, another brewery I'm a bit partial to, out of Fort Collins, Colorado.
Odell makes great brews.
We are going to be tasting a juicy IPA they made called Juicy Tempo.
Oh,
so we'll look forward to that. And then from Harviestoun Brewery, which is in Scotland, I believe, we'll be trying their Engineers Reserve Blackest Ale, which is called Old Engine Oil.
I think I love that without even tasting it.
I was going to say, I don't know if you've tasted it or not, but
I've never even heard of that.
This just seems like something that is
but
right
it seems
up
like
your
something
alley.
I would just buy.
Absolutely.
Like sight unseen.
Absolutely. And then we'll be doing some tequila on the program. Tres Agaves Organic Tequila Anejo from Jalisco, Mexico. So we have that to look forward to. We'll tell you about some cigars to watch for. We'll tell you about the hottest cigar brands in America.
Right now.
Yeah. No, the ones that are the biggest, name brands. So we'll tell you about that.
I'm just trying to add a little excitement, a little urgency to it.
And, of course, we will have our fan favorite segment of the program, the part we like to call Drinking News. And today's Drinking News teaser headline, Take Me Out at the Ball Game.
There's a slight difference.
A slight difference, yes. Absolutely. Take me out at the ball game. So all of that to look forward to. I'm telling you, man, it's been a week. It really has. I've had a busy one. Have you been busy or things slow in your world?
So it's been crazy busy for me. And, of course, I'm going out of town this next week for a wedding. So I'll be, for any of you up in Minnesota, I'll see you there.
You got to bring back some Minnesota beers, by the way.
don't know if they
So we
let me
can
do
try
that
them
on
on
the
the show.
plane. I may pack some up and ship them.
You can put them in a box and send them to me,
There you go.
and then maybe I'll still have them to bring on the show.
Maybe you'll forgive me for bringing you the big basket of malt liquor.
That's right. It's about time you did something to make up for that. It really is. Because
Happy birthday to you, by the way.
Every now and then, I still burp and remember that malt liquor. So
I have a birthday present coming for you.
Cool.
It'll be here soon, so it'll be
I'm
probably
excited.
when I get back when you get it.
I am excited. So, no, you're going to be out from the show next week.
I will be.
I have invited a good friend of mine, Jim Heim, to guest co-host the program with me. And Jim is not only a great guy and an avid cigar and spirit and craft beer enthusiast, but he is also the father of Abby Heim, who we've had on
She's
from Great
awesome.
Heights Brewing.
Yeah, she's
and
awesome.
Abby is, and I came to find out from talking to Jim that he was the one that actually encouraged Abby to get into the brewing business.
Nice.
So anyway, he's a cool dude, and I'll look forward to having him on the program next week. And I'm sure we'll try some stuff that you would have loved had you been here, but you won't be here. So,
I'm sure you will, and you'll tell me all about
yeah,
it.
we're going to do the all barley wine show next week since you're gone.
Dang it.
That's going to be the plan. So anyway,
That's not right.
But you have a wedding you're going to? Is that right?
Yeah, my nephew's getting married.
Oh,
so
congratulations
we're
to
gonna go
him.
up there and hang out. And then I thought I was going to get away with it this time, but he called me like a few weeks after he announced the wedding. He goes, can you play at the wedding? So now I have to carry a guitar and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But
But you
we're
could
going to have
always-
fun. We do this all
Just
the time.
for ease of travel, you could always just take the ukulele.
It is inherently funnier than the guitar.
It
We were
is.
talking about that earlier.
It is a funnier instrument.
It's a much funnier
It
instrument.
just is. Well, I am guessing that even in the craze of this last week, you probably had a chance to smoke something interesting. So I want to ask you about that in a moment. But first of all, you have brought today's mystery beverage, and we do this on the show from time to time.
Oh boy, did I!
More often lately, and the mystery beverage is one where whoever brings it in today, it was Ian. Does not tell us what this is until after we've tasted and made some sort of a comment about what we
but
think
did you
about
know
it.
that they now serve Malort in a can? That's a joke. They don't do
Does
that.
it look like a hazy IPA? Because if it does, I'm out. Done. Thank you. Have a great week. We'll see you next week on Smoking and Toasting. No, this actually looks like a hazy IPA that you poured, which I don't know if it is, but if it is, I'm a little surprised because I'm usually the guy that brings in the IPAs. Yeah.
Hazy IPA, right?
Yeah. So
I just want you to nose this first and tell me what you think.
it's got kind of a.
Yeah, it does.
Am I getting hazelnut?
Yeah, I was going to say, or butterscotch or...
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Something completely unexpected given what it looks
Yeah.
like.
And now for something completely different.
Okay, so let's see what
So,
we got.
yeah,
Not a
we'll
whole
wait and
lot
see.
on the nose.
I'm like so interested to see what you think of this.
Oh. I almost stick with that butterscotch comment.
Yeah, it's really good. Butterscotch, definitely.
You right?
There is a sort of a baking spice quality to it. There's a
This is a
almost
flavor
like
that you,
not at
buttered
all what I was
popcorn.
expecting.
this is
Yeah.
something you've had before. It's interesting you say that.
Am I
'cause
getting
thought
peanut
popcorn
butter?
a little
Am I
bit.
getting peanut
popcorn,
butter?
So
I
this
could see the peanut butter.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
yeah.
butterscotch, popcorn, peanut butter. It's
So from Urban South, which I just want to first say, love this brewery.
yeah, it's going to
These
be
guys
outrageous.
rock. So it's the Delicioso Agua Fresca. It's a horchata.
really.
So
wow.
tell me, Ian,
Horchata
what
cerveza.
exactly
Wow.
is horchata?
Okay.
For those who
well,
don't know.
horchata is the it's just that sweet. You could buy it and
I actually had some yesterday at a restaurant, little Mexican restaurant, taqueria down the street, and yeah, it's like a milky, sweet, cinnamon, sugary type drink. That's it's not
And all of that's
fully
in this
milky.
flavor
It's
profile.
like got water in it, but yeah, it's.
But this is not a horchata. It's a horchata flavored brew.
yeah. It's a
I can
horchata.
taste that.
It's and it's cinnamon and all kinds of other stuff going on in there. And it don't have a lot of. It says horchata agua fresca brewed creamy and rich with just a touch of cinnamon.
Now I taste cinnamon toast crunch.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But I love that you said popcorn earlier because
Yeah.
like when you're just parsing out the flavors, it does so many different little things. But popcorn is one of those weird things that popped up in my mind too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I've had this already. I tried this at the brewery last week, and And because the brewery's not actually far from where you live.
Right, because there's the original Urban South is in Louisiana, but they opened up a Houston brewery as well.
Opened up a Houston one, and it's super nice. I went in there and was chatting with them. I was trying to see if I can get them on the show at some point in time soon. That was my ulterior motive.
Yeah,
but I ended up chatting with a super nice lady at the bar, and I saw this and I thought, wow, my wife would probably really like that. She loves horchata. She didn't like the beer. She didn't. She's like, man, it's all right. I was like, I thought this would be great, but I thought it'd be fun to bring in here.
Pretty good
because I think that this is a great version of a horchata beer. Like I've never had another one, but this is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I'm kind of digging it myself.
I like it. I do. I like it.
Well, mystery beverage solved. That's,
that was interesting. That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
a real interesting one. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that.
No Malorts were harmed in this edition of Smoking and Toasting,
and no one was harmed by a Malort, which is even more important. Ian, we got about 3 minutes left in this segment. Is that enough time for you to run through your cigar, or should we want me to do it all? Should we
super fast?
Save it for you?
We should probably save it. Actually,
okay. Why don't we do that? In the meantime, I'll tell you about some cigars to watch for. Dominican cigar maker Quesada Cigars, a brand that I'm a fan of.
Yes.
They're celebrating 15 years of their Casa Magna brand with a limited edition smoke called the Casa Magna XV Anniversary. And it is already shipping to retailers. It's made in only one size at the Toro that's 6x54, and it's intended to be a stronger version of the already bold Casa Magna Colorado line. The Colorado Robusto from Casa Magna was the number 20 cigar of 2022 and was named Cigar of the Year back in 2008. So there's a pretty good line of royalty.
Heritage there, yeah.
Some heritage going on here. This one will feature the same Nicaraguan filler and binder as the original, but a Habano 2000 leaf from Ecuador, and it is a suggested retail price of about $15. It's produced in the Dominican Republic at Quesada's Tobacco's factory. And then shipping to retail now, General Cigar Company and Flint Knoll Winery have teamed up once again to produce the Macanudo Estate Reserve Flint Knoll No. 2. Now, this is Macanudo getting very creative, because I think of Macanudo, as you probably do, which is, they make really good My First Cigar.
Very traditional.
Very traditional, kind of
very
mostly
straight ahead cigars.
Mostly lighter blends.
But they've been killing it recently, like the Inspirato and a few others, man, have come out.
Yep.
And,
Well, this one's made with a binder leaf that's aged in wine barrels, aimed at creating synergy between the cigar and Flint Knoll's California Cabernet. It consists of Connecticut seed wrapper from Ecuador and filler combination of Brazilian Matafina, Nicaraguan tobacco from Jalapa, and 2 different Dominican varietals. But the Dominican varietals are Olor and Piloto Cubano. So you're talking about a stronger cigar here based on
you
the
had me a
tobaccos
Matafina anyway. The Matafina is so good.
The oak cask that they used to age the binder previously housed Flint Knoll's 2019 Royal Appointment, a wine that brand owner Aaron Michaels calls a Valley Floor Cabernet on account of the relatively low elevation districts where the grapes are grown, namely in the Calistoga and Stag's Leap area. So the blend of this second release is the same as the first, but the difference is the barrels themselves. So that's something to be on the lookout for. And last year, 3 lines of Sancho Panza were revitalized by the creative juggernaut known as Matt Booth. On Monday, the 25th of September, the intrigue around Sancho intensified with the launch of a new limited edition brand that Matt Booth says, and this is his quote, is a hypersexual blend that provides both pleasure in the combustion experience and depth to the brand's overall offering. That's Matt Booth and the new Sancho Panza.
I have no idea what that means, but I love that guy.
Yeah, he's he's a dude. The Sancho Panza limited edition Toro, you can look for. It's about a $13 cigar. All right, we got to take a break. We will be right back to find out about the cigar that lit up Ian's week. Coming up next is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, episode 348. My name is Cruz. My co-host is Ian Barry. Behind us on the wheels of steel, the one and only Terry Michaels, and Adam in the Cloud, our executive producer. And during the break, Ian poured us some more of this horchata beer. And
look at the difference between mine and yours.
Yeah, so this is an earlier pour. Ian's is a later pour, and yours includes chunks.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's because it's part of this complete breakfast.
It looks like real horchata, though. It's got that milky.
It definitely
look
gets a
to
more
it.
milky
yeah,
quality.
At the end, yeah.
Does real horchata have chunks, though?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not really. Yeah,
Ian,
not really.
Ian loves
I guess
chunks
it could.
and chewiness in his beer.
I'm okay with that. It doesn't actually bother me at all.
Totally fine with it. Well, while you're enjoying that, why don't you tell us about what you had the opportunity to smoke this week that we might find interesting?
So I had a foundation. This is twice in a row I think I had a foundation cigar, but this was the Olmec Maduro. And I'm just going to read what they say on the website real quick, and then I'll go to my thing. The heartland of the Olmecs is tropical lowlands of modern-day Mexico state of Veracruz, Tabasco, and San Andreas Tuxtla. Today, this is the same region that grows some of the finest San Andreas Negro wrapper tobacco. The seed variety is considered one of the oldest seed varieties in the world. Olmec Cigars contains the finest Nicaraguan filler tobaccos from Esteli and Jalapa valleys. After fermentation, these filler tobaccos are bale-aged for 3 years. Bale-aged, not barrel-aged. That's
right.
For 3 years before going on to production.
That means
floor.
the leaves are stacked flat in a bale, kind of bound together and aged together that way so that they sort of seep into each other, as it were.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off saying this was the Corona Gorda is a 5.5 by 48. The pre-light sniff on it's earthy and chocolate, sweet coffee on the nose as well. I used a punch on the pre-light draw, medium draw overall, dark chocolate, sweet dried dark fruit going on in there. The initial light, Nicaraguan pepper blast, buddy, right off the bat.
I enjoy that.
Dark fruit, wood, and coffee. The draw opens up just a little bit. Retrohale is very peppery and woody. The first third of this, big bad brownie with pepper. Loads of dense, rich smoke delivers dark chocolate, espresso, dark fruit, all with a solid woody background. The retrohale is cedar and sweet pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. You'll see in this picture right here. Rich brownie batter. On the second third with wood and dark fruit, full strength yet not harsh. The retrohale is cedar and sweet pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. On the last third of this, the dark fruit sweetness and a slightly tart note move forward. Cedar, espresso, and brownie flavors remain constant and consistent. The retrohale is a little sweeter here with cedar and pepper, solid ash, perfect burn. This cigar comes in at $12.50. That's pretty much super premium, I think, once you hit after $12.
So 12, you would say, is where you jump into
That's usually about where I put it. So, but
Yeah.
a 5.5, this cigar was outrageously good. It smoked for right at almost exactly an hour.
And what size was it?
This was 5.5 by 50
Okay.
or 48.
So it's not huge, but it's
no, it's
enough,
not a great big cigar,
enough to
but
keep you going
man,
for an
it was
hour.
good. Yeah, about 48. Sorry, yeah.
I kind of
A little box press too. So
Where'd you pick that up?
I was over at Casa.
Casa's.
Yeah, they had it over there.
They have some fine people over
Yeah,
there.
they always have the new stuff at the end of the aisle. So like I always shop there first because when you've done 300, almost 400 shows, that's a lot of cigars. So you got to try to find something new once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. And I run into the same thing. In fact, the cigar that I will tell you about coming up in the next segment is one I picked up at Cigar Town because I hadn't seen it at other, humidors that I'd been in. We were out there doing the show, and I was like, oh, they got a nice selection of these. This is a good-looking cigar.
You picked up one of the Stallones,
I did.
right?
I
Yeah,
did.
okay.
And I'll be telling
so
you
I've
all
had
about
that before. Actually, Alan Denny turned me on to that one.
And that's a really interesting little boutique brand. So I'll tell you about my experience with that coming up. Plus, the inevitable appeal of one good ruling for premium cigar lovers. We'll tell you about that. And what are the best-selling cigar brands in the United States? We'll let you know that as well. We are coming back at Smoking and Toasting. Ah, yes. Legit, actual, organic sound effects here on the Smoking and Toasting Show. Welcome back. It is our program, Smoking and Toasting, all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we enjoy those things very much. In fact, I want to tell you, while Ian's pouring one of those craft beers for us to taste, I want to tell you about the cigar that I enjoyed this week, which was my first time to try the Stallone Azabache Maduro Toro.
That's easy for you to say.
Now, first things first, the Stallone line of cigars is not owned by the most well-known Stallone, Sylvester, or even by his questionably talented brother Frank. And there is a Frank Stallone, by the way, for those who are lucky enough to have forgotten.
Who's a guitar player?
Frank Stallone had a song called Far From Over on the soundtrack of one of his brother's movies, and it was awful.
There's a whole South Park dedicated to him, remember?
I don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah, it's the one where
Frank
he has
Stallone?
to he has to hit this one note is what it is. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't a Frank fan. As far as Sylvester himself,
Hey, man.
Look, Rocky was a classic.
Nepotism's a good thing in some situations.
Yes, right. But as far as the more outstanding Stallone, Rocky was a classic. The sequels weren't quite as good. And I never got into the whole Rambo thing, but I do love his series on Paramount Plus called Tulsa King. Oh, my God, that's a great show. But that's not important right now.
The Expendables are pretty fun.
Expendables are good. And there's another one coming, if you can believe that or not. But anyway, Stallone cigars are actually owned and blended by Tony Barrios, who also is a cutting horse competitor. And Stallone simply means stallion in Italian. So that's where the name comes from. And insert Italian stallion Stallone jokes here. As to the cigar itself, the Azabache features a dark, smooth Habano 2000 Maduro wrapper over Nicaraguan binder and filler, and it's absolutely beautiful. Box pressed. I picked this one up from the humidor at Cigar Town a couple of weeks ago, and I've been looking forward to smoking it ever since. It's one of those that kind of calls to me from the humidor, and I'm like, no, wait, I want to do that one for the show. Anyway, the pre-light inspection gave me hints of coffee and earth with a note of dried fruit on the cold draw. I used a punch and lit her up, preparing myself for the inevitable Nicaraguan pepper blast, and I didn't really get one. A cigar did come on a little strong at first before it settled down, but I wouldn't really call it a Nicaraguan pepper blast. More like a Nicaraguan pepper sachet or something. Anyway, there was pepper, to be sure, which left a light and pleasant tingle on the tongue, but black coffee was the primary note for the first third, along with a little bit of leather and a hint of black tea. Construction was good, burn was solid, and draw was just the way I like it. The ash held on for about an inch before falling on its own. Thankfully, it was not in the vicinity of my shirt. The second third, more black pepper and leather, but the coffee note slowly became a little bit sweeter, like someone had taken that cup of black coffee and, added a little bit of sugar to it. Anyway, maybe even a dash of cream. Okay. Stallone is a very small boutique cigar company, but they've secured the services apparently of some very good rollers, because even box pressed, this Azabache burned like a champ.
Nice.
I mean, honestly, the construction just could not have been better on this cigar. The final third did not change a great deal from the second, but added some layers of complexity that I really enjoyed. I'd get fleeting hints of other flavors that included citrus zest, toasted almonds, and seasoned oak. Overall, though, black pepper and coffee dominated, and since those are two tobacco notes that I really like, I enjoyed the cigar quite a bit. The Stallone Azabache is a $9 to $10 cigar, and I'm going to give it a 6.
Nice.
On the price to quality scale. That's not to say that it's substantially better than some of my favorite smokes in that price range, but I do that more as a nod to Tony Barrios and Stallone Cigars for not pricing this like so many other small production boutique cigar makers would have. I've smoked some of these boutique sticks that were not in any way more enjoyable or complex than the Azabache, but were priced anywhere from $15 to $28.
Right.
And so kudos to Barrios and to Stallone for keeping this one more affordable. I think you should try it. You can find these cigars on some of the online sites, and I'm sure you can track them down to the shop somewhere close to your area. If you're in the greater Houston area, Cigar Town, where we did a show recently, has a really nice stock of a number of different ones of these. They're worth seeking out, and I do recommend the Stallone Azabache. I do not recommend Far From Over by Frank Stallone. And that is my cigar review for this week's show.
So I made a mistake earlier when you were talking about this beer, the Backpew American Pilsner. I thought I'd tried this, but now I'm looking at it. This is not
I was
one I've tried.
thinking this is a new release. My wife actually brought this home. She often will put me together a 6-pack sampler when she's in one of the grocery stores, H-E-B or Kroger, and so she is always looking for things that she doesn't think I've seen before. And this was in her latest haul that she brought home to me, and I thought, I may take this one on the show.
This has a very
like Backpew.
Like cereal kind of quality to the nose.
And when you say cereal, you don't mean like cereal killer. You mean like a bowl.
No,
of
they're
cereal.
like a bowl of cereal.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. don't know what a
like
serial
those
killer
kind of
quality
different
would
grains. This is Back Pew Blue Testament American Pilsner. Says drink true, drink blue.
be. Is it an oat
It's
cereal note?
It says maybe. It says artfully crafted with blessed well water in Porter, Texas. And then on the side it says the flavor that strikes you like a bolt from the blue, 5.2% alcohol by volume, but underneath it says malt liquor.
Interesting.
I don't know what that means there.
I
Have you
can really
tasted it?
taste the the blessed well water.
Absolutely.
I can taste it.
I'm just going to go right out and say this is delicious. This is what Budweiser and Miller wish they tasted like.
Oh yeah.
They
That
can
cereal note in
only
there is so
wish.
good.
It is delightful. It gives it the tiniest bit of sweetness, which then balances with the bitterness of the hops, and it's wonderful.
There's a crazy hot bitter that happens right after, and by crazy I mean like unexpected, not like that
Right.
it's over top, but it's
But then on
definitely
the
there.
finish, you get
And
that
it's
little bit of sweetness.
unapologetically there, and it's really nice.
It's balanced so nicely.
Yeah.
This easy drinking Pilsner is crafted with passion to bring out the best in its very unique element.
I'm sorry that
and
we're
it's every unique element. To go ahead, it says, go ahead and find another brew that combines traditional German flavors with the sweetness of Texas blue corn. Okay,
so that's where the sweetness is coming.
that's where
and
the sweetness
cereal
in the
note that
cereal
you were
comes
getting.
from, right?
Okay.
It's got
Totally,
the
like
corn
corn
puffs
puffs.
kind of.
Yeah.
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 Did we say that at the same time? Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
You owe me a blue. lager.
Yeah, right. To create a rich, crisp experience,
Crisp,
we'll be
yes.
here when you get back. So
I think it's outstanding. I only
it's
wish
pretty good. It's so different.
I only
love
wish
it.
I'd tried this earlier in the summer because this could have been my go-to summer
It's,
beer
Oh, yeah.
it's so
You know?
Yeah,
interesting.
good summer
for
beer.
hanging at the pool.
Yeah,
you know?
for real.
Oh,
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy to
I
drink.
wouldn't have nailed that as corn, but now that we've said it, it kind of
Now you're, yeah.
it kind of comes across. It's really really good.
What is that? Corn pop cereal? Is it called
Yeah, like
corn pops?
Yeah,
corn
corn
puffs.
Corn puffs. Okay.
Yeah, like corn puffs, kind of, or almost like a corn tortilla kind of
Ooh, yeah. Now you're
ish
talking.
thing
Sure
to it.
smacks.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
really
you know
nice.
how you know how when you get like a street taco, like a Mexican street taco,
Yeah.
and it's got like beef and onions, and they wrap it in that corn tortilla, and the corn tortilla is so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I get a little. I'm sorry. I just got a little carried away with that there, but it is. This would go great with that.
Yeah.
yeah,
It would mix up with it just
it
perfectly.
would mix up with it almost.
Oh, yes.
No,
Nice.
Kind of went there.
I'm still wondering why it says malt liquor on it.
I don't know. Well, isn't beer technically a malt liquor?
Maybe it's because it's made with that blue corn.
But why would that make it malt liquor?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm making stuff up at this point in time.
They make Bud Light with a lot of rice, but they still call it beer.
That's what there's that.
You know, I'm not sure that's a good thing. I like rice, I like corn, but I'm not sure.
Rice is fine when you want to eat like 1,000 or something.
Yeah, and still be hungry.
And still be hungry.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is delicious. And
It's
you know
really
what-
good. Yeah, I
and-
agree.
And you know what else? Just because we were talking about rice made me think of sushi. This would be great with sushi.
Oh, it would. That
in
that
the same way
crisp
that a Japanese beer
finish
is.
on
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I bet it would be absolutely fantastic.
And now I'm hungry. Dang it.
And now on my way home, I have to hit a grocery store that has this and hit some grocery store sushi
Yeah, and it's
because that's scary in some places. But in Houston, man, grocery store sushi is not so bad.
okay.
They have a lot of it in a lot of the stores.
HEB.
That's what I'm
in
saying.
Houston,
Yeah.
If you get their Salmon Delight or Salmon Deluxe, that is one of the best
Yeah.
gas station sushi things you will ever eat.
I
It's
don't-
really good.
I
It's
can't
true
eat-
because there's actually usually a gas station out at the front of the HEB too.
yeah, yeah.
The only thing is they all have avocado in them. That's the only problem.
well,
They
this
all
is
have
not a
avocado.
problem, Terry. This is not a
problem.
It's a problem with me.
I'll tell you what is a problem. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has appealed last month's ruling that gave cigar makers relief from the deeming rule, which is seeking to severely limit how fine cigars are made, marketed, and enjoyed. Back on the 9th of August, Judge Amit Mehta ruled in the case known as the Cigar Association of America et al. Versus the U.S. Food and Drug Administration that the FDA acted in an arbitrary and capricious manner in its actions against the makers of handmade cigars. In an opinion written prior to the ruling, he referred to one of the FDA's arguments as exactly the sort of non-responsive, circular reasoning the court faulted previously. Instead of addressing the relevant data before it, the agency resorted to a common refrain to obscure the issue in quote. It went on to say that the FDA statement was not accurate then, and despite litigation counsel's efforts, it is not accurate now. That's what the judge wrote. Now, that ruling is being appealed. So this is not over. We thought it was over when that ruling came down. I thought, that's it. They can't take this any further. But apparently someone can. And I don't really get it. Rocket Patel said, I think the judge was very clear the FDA didn't provide relevant data, and the amount of money spent on appealing this case makes no sense at all. We make up 0.01% of all tobacco products. It's very clear and evident they are not reasonable and not rational. And it will take, they say, a long time for this appeal process to play out, which means this is going to be all up in the air.
So they're just
all this
I
time.
feel like they're just playing attrition at this point in time. They're just trying to bind it all up so much in legal that nothing gets done.
It'll likely take a year for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit to consider the appeal and issue its decision on whether there can even be an appeal, which doesn't mean it will be successful or not. Just means whether they get to do it. And then Drew Newman, one of the owners of J.C. Newman in Tobacco in Tampa, Florida, said, in 30 pages of clear and unequivocal text, Judge Mehta explained why the FDA's decision to regulate premium cigars was arbitrary and capricious and not supported by substantial evidence. So according to Newman, the burden will now be on the federal government to demonstrate that the judge's conclusions were wrong.
So the FDA is just using the Shaggy defense at this point.
The Shaggy defense?
It wasn't me. Right, no matter how much evidence, I even got you on camera, it wasn't me. Right?
That is I think everybody can relate to. We all know that guy, right? You know?
It's just because it doesn't matter what evidence you bring up.
Wasn't me.
It doesn't matter how good and how debunked you have just made the evidence. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Cigar Rights of America said in a recent email, we remain confident that the facts of this case are on our side and that we will prevail on appeal. So
eventually, FDA is going to appeal on, hey, these are my feelings and they need to be valid.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Yes, that's right.
So, and more importantly, wasn't me.
Wasn't me. The Shaggy defense.
I like that. I'm gonna invoke that next time I'm being accused of something, whether I did it or not. Just wasn't me. Still to come on today's Smokin' and Toastin' radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza. We'll talk about the best-selling cigar sizes and brands in America, and we also have I don't know if we've ever gotten to this, the best Scotch whiskeys in the world. Have we gotten to that list?
World.
In the world right now.
Right now.
So we may have to get to that in a few minutes, but we'll get to all of that. Of course, we mentioned drinking news will be coming up, and we'll also tell you. I think we have some more cigars to watch for you to be on the alert for. So we'll get to that as well. A lot of cigars in the news this particular week. You know, sometimes it's all about spirits, sometimes it's all about craft beer.
Was
a lot of cigars.
Up at the cigar shop earlier, and one of the guys I chat with, Carrie up there, was talking about asking if I tried that new JFR. The Inmenso, the Connecticut one.
That sounds like your size of a thing, right?
Yeah, well, they call it Inmenso. I haven't figured out why.
Yeah.
It's like 70 ring gauge or something like that. But yeah, he was talking about the new Connecticut that just came out, and I haven't tried it yet, so maybe that'll come up the next show or something.
Yeah, you may want to start smoking it like right after the show, just so it'll be done by next show.
By the next show.
Still to come, also Odell Brewing Company's Juicy Tempo. It's their juicy IPA, and from Harviestoun Brewery in Scotland, the Reserve Blackest Ale, the Engineer's Reserve Blackest Ale, called Old Engine Oil, which just sounds like something that Ian is going to love.
It occurs to me that Odell had they have this musical thing because they had the drum roll APA. You remember that?
That was a really good pale ale.
Yeah, it was good.
Loved that. So yeah, they kind of stay in the musical space. And isn't Odell one of the ones that is part employee owned?
I don't know.
I think that may
They
be
have the
right.
90 shilling, and that makes me a fan.
We'll have to look that up. Coming up, more of that and a little bit of Tres Agaves organic tequila añejo on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian mentioned when reading from the can here of the American Pilsner Blue Testament from Back Pew Brewing that it does say at the bottom down here, it does describe itself as a malt liquor. So, if only there was some device where we could go and like ask a question and get an answer,
Like some supercomputer,
some sort of
that you can
handheld
hold in your
thing.
hand.
Yeah, exactly. So I
maybe in the future they'll make something that has more processing power than an entire room full of NASA in the
IBM
1960s.
Yes, exactly. And what I have done is I have gone to the massive Smoking and Toasting research library to research the question: is all beer malt liquor? Because we asked that when we first read that on the can. And here is what our researchers have uncovered. Malt liquor is a type of beer that is often sweeter and heavier in body than regular beer. It is typically made with a higher percentage of malt, which gives it a sweeter taste, and this does have a little bit of a sweet taste, right? Malt liquor is also usually higher in alcohol content than beer, which can range from 5% to 8% ABV.
5.6, I think, is what that's
So 5%. So flavor that strikes you like a bolt from the blue. Now, I will say this. I don't have a good mental connection with the words malt liquor. And it stems from our malt liquor taste test show that we did back during the pandemic, wherein you dropped off a case of malt liquor at my house of all different kinds. It was very kind of you.
See, all I think about is Nothing Beats the Bull.
Yeah,
or
so we had Schlitz
Billy
malt
D.
liquor.
Williams
Yeah,
and Colt 45
had
commercials.
Colt
That's what I
you
think
remember
of growing up.
There was a
My uncle that drank malt liquor.
There was a Saturday Night Live mock-up was cold cock malt
yeah,
liquor.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. That was pretty fun. But this, I'm telling you, the worst burps I've ever had in my life after that show, and they lasted for days. Days. I couldn't stand it. That was worse than the actual drinking of the malt liquor, in my opinion.
You know, so
post-show.
remember when we did our
post-show.
bottom shelf bourbon blind taste test? We found actually like 3 or 4 out of those 12s were actually really not just drinkable,
Yes.
but actually pretty good.
Right.
And the malt liquor blind taste test, we found out that pretty much none of them tasted
they
very
were
good.
pretty much all just absolutely sucked.
I mean, unless you like, dirty laundry brewed with lemon.
Yeah, right. Lemon helps get that dirty laundry flavor to rise to the fore.
Gentle notes of carpet mold and
Cigar Aficionado magazine has polled through their Cigar Insider, which is one of their newsletters. They polled retailers as to what their best-selling brands were and the brands that were most often requested by customers. So slightly different list, but interesting. The brands more often requested by customers, the top 10 list, starts at number 10 with Rocky Patel. Number 9, My Father. Number 7, Romeo and Julieta. Also tied at number 7, Liga Privada. That's interesting. I love that brand, but don't know if I would have put it over My Father and Rocky Patel in terms of expecting people to request it.
But if you're a person going into a cigar shop and you're like, I don't know what to get, but someone told me Liga Privadas were good,
Right. Tied for 5th, the Padron 1964 Anniversary Series and La Flor Dominicana Andalusian Bull. Both really great cigars.
Yeah.
Davidoff.
Good luck finding it, but man, that's a great cigar.
Davidoff at number 4. Padron, just Padron at number 3. Number 2, Arturo Fuente. And number 1, an Arturo Fuente product, the Fuente Opus X. So very interesting. Now that list differs a little bit from the best-selling brand. And again, this is according to retailers who answered the survey. Romeo and Julieta at 10, La Flor Dominicana at 8, tied with Ashton, Rocky Patel at 7, Perdomo at 6, My Father at 5, a two-way tie for third with Davidoff and Oliva.
Oh, wow.
Which didn't make the other list, but makes this one. Arturo Fuente at 2, and Padron at number 4 with a whopping 48%.
Wow.
Saying that is their best-selling brand. So, little interesting information. You can chew on that while we get ready for hour number 2 of Smoking and Toasting. For those of you who only get the first hour of the show, thank you so much for joining us for that. And we want to remind you that you can always find hour 2, which includes, among other things, drinking news. You can find that anywhere that fine podcasts are hosted. We suggest checking us out on YouTube because the shows are always posted there. Look for the Smoking and Toasting YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. That's what everybody tells you these days, so we'll do it too. And we'll be right back with hour 2. It is Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, as that sound would allow you to believe. And this is hour 2 of the show. Thank you for joining us and for being a part of this program, which is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Speaking of fine spirits, the results are in from the annual Ultimate Spirit Challenge, and Scotch lovers are going to want to take note of this. There are actually 2 single malts that tied for the top score amongst the whiskey category, each amassing an impressive 98 out of 100 from a team of judges, which includes some of the more respected palates in the industry. This contest matters, they say, because the United Spirits Challenge is now in its 14th year, and the annual competition, they say, had to sort through a record stack of submissions, including entries from more than 50 different spirit-producing countries. Wow. So that's pretty interesting.
Just from 50 different countries.
Yeah,
so
spirit-producing countries.
Spirits.
Yeah. They say this has been the most global of their competitions ever, as far away from New York as China, Australia, India, Kazakhstan, and Chile. And virtually all the categories saw healthy gains, and most notably, gin, ready-to-drink cocktails, mezcal, rum, tequila, vodka, and all whiskey and brandy categories were outstanding, they said, this year. On to the best.
Is a fine girl.
On to the best scotches. The first 98 score was recorded by Highland Park 21.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's a 46% ABV single malt produced upon the wind-swept Orkney Islands at the northern edge of Scotland. I just wanted to say Scotland with that accent one time.
Well done.
I've never tried to do that before.
I'm terrible with accents.
Yeah. So you may already be familiar with the distillery. The 21-year-old Expression can be found on shelves for about $375 a bottle, but they said it was absolutely worth it. Relative bargain and as accessible as Highland Park 21, but with a score just as good, the Mortlock 16-year-old. It's bottled at a proof of 86.8. And it's a relative bargain, they say, at $115 per bottle. So that's the Mortlock 16. And they go on to say that it's absolutely just exquisite in terms of the flavors and the way that everything just comes together on it.
Combines.
For a few that came pretty close, for blended, Dewar's 18-year. They gave 97 points to Dewar's 18-year.
I don't think I've ever had the 18.
Yeah, now Dewar's, when I think of Dewar's, I don't necessarily think of high-end whiskey. You think more of like a Jack Daniels or something in that.
The Dewar's, so Dewar's is okay. It's drinkable. But yeah, it's not really what I'd call.
For blended malt, they gave 96 points, the highest score to Johnny Walker Green Label. Have you had Johnny Walker Green?
I don't think I've had the green. I've had the blue. I've had the
blue and
black.
the
I've had the red. Obviously, you don't want the red.
You don't want the red.
And I've also had the double black.
The double black. I don't think I've had
the gold
that.
label, but I have not had the green label.
Interesting. We'll have to do some more investigation.
I think I brought the double black onto the show once.
I think you did. I think it was quite good, actually, as I recall. The Independent Merchant Award went to the Scotch Malt Whiskey Society cask number 78.58, Baking Easter Treats, 9-year-old.
That's a lot. That's a mouthful.
It is, and they gave it 97 points. Single Malt Highland went to Aberfeldy Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon cask finish that's 15 years old, and the Bowmore 18-year-old scored 97 points,
nice.
Which was also a really, really interesting and good score. So I thought those were very interesting. I'm going through more of a rye phase right now than a Scotch phase. Do you find that your tastes kind of wander from one style to another?
So I I started off really, really loving Scotch, and then I tend to go more bourbon these days.
Yeah.
As far as rye goes, sometimes I want that flavor.
Yeah.
But I don't always. Sometimes I'm just like, I want to have just a good bourbon, and that doesn't exclude a rye from being part of that. Right. So I don't know.
But yeah, you're right. The Scotch is a whole different thing. It's a whole different.
It's a very different style,
flavor
of whiskey,
and style that you're tasting, that you're chasing. But all right, I
have a whole shelf of very peaty Scotch too,
which I don't drink that often. But I've started to enjoy it more and more when I do. That was something that's become an acquired taste for me, because when we first started the show, I was not really into the peaty Scotches at all. I'm kind of like
it's a little of an acquired thing, or maybe you learn how interesting those tastes can be.
Your palate adjusts somewhat, perhaps. Yeah, I would say so. Speaking of things your palate can adjust to, I'm the IPA guy. You're not necessarily, but I'm wondering how you feel about Odell Brewing Company's Juicy Tempo.
Odell doesn't seem to be able to do much wrong.
They really don't, do they?
No, it's pretty good. It's balanced. It's a little sweet. It's a little juicy. It's a little crispy, and then it goes away.
Right. It finishes quick.
Yeah, it goes away pretty quick, actually. It says, get your groove on with Juicy Tempo. This juicy IPA drops the beat with psychedelic hop notes of ripe pineapple, and bright orange. Crack a can, hit play, lose yourself in the melody of dazzling hop flavors.
You mentioned how they really like the musical references in Odell. This is a really delicious beer. It's an extremely drinkable hazy. It's almost like an orange pineapple juice, but it's a beer.
It's also coming in at 7.7.
Is it really? I don't know
it's way bigger than I thought it was.
I don't know if I would have expected that it would be that big, just from the flavor, because it drinks so easily.
No, it's pretty nice. I like there's a dankness to the finish as well. Just a little bit of it. And it's interesting because you don't usually get that in a juicy thing. Mm-hmm. There's just a kiss of that pine cone and dank on the very end of it that make it kind of an interesting IPA.
By the way, during the break, I sent a note to our Smoking and Toasting research staff, asking them to look something up for me. And I'd made mention in a previous segment that Odell may be employee owned. Yeah. Odell Brewery. And here's what the research department, after climbing on ladders and looking at books on the very top shelf
and flipping through the card files.
Yeah, exactly. Here's what they've come back and told me: that Odell Brewing is an independent, family and employee-owned regional craft brewery. Since 1989, the culture of family and collaboration has been what the brewery is all about, fostering a brewery full of beer-centric people. And that's my people. Beer-centric people?
Beer-centric, yes.
I would say that's my people.
That's my people.
So I don't own a piece of Odell, but I've certainly made some investments. I just haven't received back any stock certificates, as it were. But perhaps I need to look into that.
The question is, how much of their 90 shilling do you have to drink before you actually own some stock?
Maybe,
because I've worked on that.
Yeah, that 90 shilling is fantastic.
It's really good. And
they do these they'll do like a mountain IPA. I think in the fall, that is so delicious and so. This is just a wonderful company. And I love the idea of employee owned. To me, that just seems like. I realize it's not for everybody, but it seems like that's a good way to prevent being bought out by the big guys. Or if you do, all the employees get a payday instead of just one or two people. So I thought that was kind of cool. But Odell, I'm digging what Odell is all about, and really digging this IPA. Are you as much a fan of this as I am?
I like it. If this was sitting next to their 90 shilling, I'd probably go 90 shilling, but certainly wouldn't turn this down at all.
Yeah, it's really quite good.
It is really good.
God, it really is.
No, I like the finish on it. The finish is so interesting because it's got so many things in it that generally by themselves, I don't know that it would be that balanced, but it just does all these little things. It's so fun.
If you had to guess, what do you think is the best-selling size of cigar in the United States? Size or
Robusto.
Size or like shape configuration. In other words,
Robusto.
Torpedo would be a size in this case.
Yeah, right.
I would have thought so too. But apparently, Robusto is now number 3
Really?
on the list of best-selling sizes of cigars. Number 4 is a tie between Churchill and Corona.
Huh.
Number 3 is Robusto. Number 2 is the Grande size, which is like a little bit bigger around, sometimes a little bit longer.
but not necessarily like a...
Yeah. Number 1, with 69.2% of the market, is the Toro or Corona Gorda.
Huh.
Which they kind of combine those two, and you could split hairs and say they're different, but a lot of it just depends on what the company decides to call a particular size. But I will say the vast majority of the cigars I smoke are Toros.
Yeah, I mean, I think by default that happens, but I pick up a lot of Robustos, a lot of cigars, especially if I'm trying them. I always try them in the Robusto size.
And then if you like it and you buy more, maybe you go with the bigger size.
But I like bigger ring gauges in general, like so I have no problems picking up something that's in the 60 ring gauge at any time. So
see, I'm a fan of 45 to 52 is kind of my sweet spot in terms of
You're such a
ring
size
gauge.
queen.
Well, perhaps that's true, but no, I really like. I don't necessarily. I wouldn't put the Lanceros at the top of my list. I can enjoy a good one, but I'm always, to me, those always seem to burn a little hot.
Lanceros can be anywhere from like say a 38 to a 48, maybe.
Yeah, I think once you get about 44, you can't be a
44-ish,
Lancero.
42-ish.
Because I really like
Lanceros are really good in certain cigars. Like that Aladino Maduro Lancero is
That's good.
outrageous.
But there's a kind of a sweet spot. Like for me, AJ Fernandez, Bella Artez, Maduro in the 44 ring gauge. That is like the
one.
perfect balance to me. Because I've had that cigar in a lot of different sizes because it's one of my favorites. And I will just say that 44, that's so good. It's just so good. Something about it just hits it the right way for the blend.
I agree. And then like something like the Melanio, the Oliva Serie V Melanio in the Churchill.
Oh yeah.
And the master blend in the Churchill. Like I think that for whatever reason those cigars just hit that shape really, really well.
Now I went through a phase as a cigar lover that I wanted torpedoes of everything. Like torpedo just seemed to be what I wanted. I loved the concept of snipping it off to where the tobacco is coming together a little more.
The aperture's right where you want it. Yeah.
Right. And but yet you got the bigger cigar in terms of the ring gauge of the bulk of the cigar. Where do you come in on torpedoes? Are you a fan?
So torpedoes I like them just fine, but a lot of times I avoid torpedoes because the lighters that I carry in my pocket a lot of times have punches on them.
Right, and that obviously doesn't work.
And that makes it a little tougher. Then I have to carry something around a little extra, like an extra
I have,
clip or
by the
something
way,
like
been in a situation where the only cigar I had was a torpedo and the only cutter I had was a punch, and I have been able to make it work.
Well, I have a pocket knife, so I can make it happen.
It requires some maneuvering, shall we say. But yes.
Right, I've gotten real adept, by the way, at doing a V cut with a pocket knife.
Yeah, I'm looking for a good V cutter. All of mine have been like plastic and like they don't last very long.
I have the same issue, and I don't have a good
really
quality
one.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to say thanks to my wife because for my birthday she replaced my really cool two-sized punch, the one that's like gold and silver colored. I had used my old one so much that it had become completely dull.
Like you wouldn't cut
and I took
anymore.
this new one and tried it on the first cigar, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. This slices right through. I was like, I have no idea. How many cigars do you have to smoke to dull your
well, you
sharpened...
gave me one of those, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, it's wonderful. The only thing is, it's so nice. I don't want to put it on my keychain and carry it in my pocket because I'm afraid I'll scratch it up. You know what I mean? Like I'm that way with lighters.
You got
too.
me thinking about it now too. I bet I could sharpen it.
Could you? How do you sharpen the little round?
I've got files.
Because
man.
the blade is but that's very fine.
Yeah.
How would you do that?
I think I can do it.
All right, I may give you my old one just to see if you can like experiment on it and make it work.
All right, let's do it.
All right, fair enough. I'll bring it in. All right, you are listening to and watching Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Drinking news is on the way. Plus, we're about to taste some tequila, one of my favorite things in the world to do. And we'll do it next. Nice. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're moving into the fine spirits portion of the program now because Ian is pouring for us some Tres Agaves Tequila. And
that's Spanish for three agaves.
Yes, it is. Very, very well done. I appreciate your mastery of the language there.
I do the best I can.
What's interesting about this particular week's tequila is that Ian has already noted that I have done the difficult work of removing the plastic and clearing the neck of the bottle just for health and OSHA requirements.
You'll notice there's less spills, and I did not cut my finger on any plastic.
And I'm going to have to do this again next week because you will be gone on next week's shows, and I'll have a guest host in here.
Guest.
And I sure don't want the inexperienced guest host to come in, cut their finger on the plastic, spill the spirit everywhere, and then feel like they need to sue the show.
And this bottle is extra safe, it looked. Extra safe.
You're absolutely right. I wanted to go the extra mile on this one to make sure that we were appropriately protected. Tres Agaves Tequila is crafted from single source, certified organic agave, and it is grown in the Talapa Valley, and it is a wonderful smelling beverage, isn't it?
It does smell good.
Yeah.
It's got a very, very natural smell to it.
This is what tequila should smell like,
right? And you're right. And I think back to like my college years,
just a little vanilla on the nose.
Drinking, just Cuervo Gold or whatever, doing shots of it using limes and salt and all of that kind of stuff that I've now sworn off. But it's more like a pure organic version of that same smell.
Well, first off, taking shots makes pretty much everything taste bad.
Yeah.
And then when you add salt and lime, when you have to add salt and lime to whatever you're taking a shot of, I mean, that's especially not good.
Well, the only time where I'll use a little bit of lime is with, how do I say this politely, lower grade Mexican beers. Like a Tecate or maybe a Modelo can be improved with a little wedge of lime.
See, generally speaking, I just won't drink those.
Yeah, right. If you're in a situation where you can avoid those or go higher, if there's anything else. And
I'll tell you this: I'll drink a Bud Light before I'll drink a Tecate.
See, I can't go there.
I'll throw that gauntlet right down. I don't like Bud Light either.
I can't go there. I would definitely do the Tecate. But if you have a choice, by the way, go with Negro Modelo. That's a dark beer, and it's actually quite good.
Yeah. Negro Modelo is a good beer. Agreed. Tres Agaves Tequila is crafted from single source certified organic, mainly grown in, you read all this, didn't you?
Just the first sentence.
Oh, yeah. Mainly certified, mainly grown in, I can't say that. Tequila Valley, the birthplace of tequila, fermented and distilled using age-old artisan techniques. Our añejo is aged for a minimum 1 year, giving it a golden hue, rich yet balanced flavor. Golden hue is a little generous because it's very, very pale straw.
What's interesting to me is that añejo tequila, which is there is an extra añejo branch above it, I suppose, but añejo is considered, between the Blanco and the Reposado and the Anejo, it's the oldest, and it could be only aged for 1 year and be Anejo. That's the difference between tequila aging and some other spirits, which require a lot longer to become considered a really finely aged beverage.
Tequila in its pure state, just your straight up Blanco, I mean, it's a finished product almost immediately, right? I mean,
well, Blanco tequila,
like gin or vodka,
can be delicious, but it has tendency to be a clear spirit,
done,
and it is very agave forward. The aging gets you some of the flavors that we're picking up here, some of the barrel aging,
this is
oak,
woody,
some of the woodiness that you get from this, a little bit of that almost, I don't want to say molasses because that's more like a rum thing, but definitely some vanilla notes and some very burnt caramel. Caramel. That's what I was looking for. Burnt caramel and vanilla, and those are notes I absolutely love in a tequila. And at about $45, this is a really fine bottle of tequila.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it really is.
Very good.
I'm going to recommend it highly. And what I will do for you guys is I will continue to drink this for the remainder of the show. That way, should there be any change in my opinion about it, I'll be able to express that to you very
In
clearly.
real time.
That's a solid. That's a solid thing. Yes.
This is why we do the show we do. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back. Drinking News is next. Good.
It was way in the wrong key.
It's all right. It was the thought that counted. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And, Ian, I just want to say I'm really glad that you have your ukulele with you today, because the Drinking News theme song may perhaps be more appropriate for the story today than it has ever been. And I don't want to say much more without giving the story away, but I'm just glad you're here and you're able to provide the musical accompaniment, because it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Rowdy Yates, ladies and gentlemen.
Rowdy Yates.
Houston radio legend.
Love that.
Absolutely love it. Well, Drinking News is the segment of the program where we bring you a story that we have collected from some news organization. To the best of our knowledge, it's not fake news. It's not parody news like The Onion. It's something that was actually reported and actually happened, or so we hope.
Although The Onion is pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's just, these are actual things that really did happen.
I read an Onion
reportedly.
article about a Starbucks that was slated to open a Starbucks in the bathroom of
Starbucks. Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. Well, as your host for Drinking News and as a co-host of Smoking and Toasting, I have to admit to you guys, my life is pretty awesome. I mean, I get to come here and drink great beers, amazing spirits like this tequila. I get to talk about awesome cigars that I've had a chance to smoke. I've got an amazing wife who puts up with my craziness and is very understanding. It's safe for me to say that life is good. But that said, everybody has bad days now and then. Maybe your boss is a jerk, or maybe you invested a bunch of money in crypto, or maybe you're just having one of those days when everything seems to go wrong. Well, I have one of those days, or when I have, rather, one of those days, I often consider getting me one of them emotional support animals.
Ooh.
You know? I should probably say, I do have a dog. She's a greyhound named Gracie, and she's awesome and all, but she mostly just likes to sleep and is not in any way an emotional support animal. Wikipedia, which we all know is always right, defines an emotional support animal as, quote, an animal that provides relief to individuals with psychiatric disability through companionship, end quote. Emotional support animals may be any type of pet, not just dogs, but are not recognized as service animals under the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's a different thing. It goes on to say, any animal that provides support, comfort, or aid to an individual through companionship, unconditional positive regard, and affection may be regarded as an emotional support animal.
All right.
Would any of your animals qualify?
I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like I'm emotionally supporting my animals most of the time.
Well, dogs, of course, make a lot of sense due to their loyalty and companionship.
Although my dog is darn cute when she stands with her hind legs on the seat of the couch and her paws on the back of the couch. And then she's eye height
There's some
to me.
emotional support
And
going
she
there.
wants her pets and stuff.
Well, dogs, due to their loyalty and companionship, make a lot of sense for this. But cats, on the other hand, are the opposite of supportive, right? I've had a number of cats in my life, and I always describe the relationship as they allowed me to live with them. It's kind of the way the cat thing goes. I'm not sure what other kinds of pets would make good emotional support animals, but a Pennsylvania man.
Pennsylvania man.
That worked.
That was particularly full-throated and yeah, I like that. A Pennsylvania man has an unusual one, and he likes to take it with him for support everywhere he goes. But he was turned away recently when he tried to take his support animal with him to a Philadelphia Phillies game. Now, I can understand why a Phillies fan might want an emotional support animal.
I can't see why taking, an emotional support dog to a baseball game. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, people love dogs.
Yeah, well, this wasn't a dog.
Oh, well, I can see, if you have a cat and you have a little cat carrier, I can understand. Like, that makes
people
that
love
makes,
cats.
Absolutely. This wasn't a cat.
Oh. I mean, if you have a parakeet on your shoulder and
people
you
like
want to do
that.
the little pirate thing, I get it,
Sure.
Kids love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a parakeet.
Oh.
The Phillies fans, though, you understand why they might have need for such a thing. The Phillies have only won the World Series twice in their entire existence, in 1980 and 2008. And although they will go to the playoffs this year, they've missed the postseason for the last 10. But when Joey Henney of Jonestown, Pennsylvania, when Joey tried to enter the Phillies ballpark with his emotional support animal for a game against the Pittsburgh Pirates, he was turned away at the gate.
I mean, was it a gerbil?
Pictures on social media show Henney with his support animal on a leash and wearing a harness with
Sounds
the
safe.
animal's name on it.
Sounds safe.
The name? Wally.
Wally.
Wally. As in Wally Gator.
Oh.
Yes. Joe Henney's emotional support animal is an alligator. An alligator who apparently has a rather large presence on Instagram and TikTok.
Wally Gator?
Wally Gator.
Wally Gator.
Now, right now,
like the cartoon.
I know we're all surprised that Joey and Wally are from Pennsylvania and not from Florida, since American alligators.
Now, is this a native Pennsylvanian alligator?
This is my point. American alligators, according to the Defense of Wildlife Organization, are native to southern Texas, Louisiana, parts of North and South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and, of course, Florida.
So this is not like the mythical Appalachian alligator.
Correct. Citizens Bank Park in Philly has their policy for emotional support animals posted on the Phillies official website. It says, quote, guide dogs, service animals, or service animals in training are welcome. All other animals are prohibited. So that's correct. No gators. Henney spoke to the Philadelphia Inquirer.
It doesn't say no gators, but I kind of get that from the spirit of it.
Well, Henney spoke to the Philadelphia Inquirer last year and said that Wally Gator, which is hard to say with a straight face, Wally Gator helps him battle depression. And that, quote, he likes to give hugs, end quote. Henney then said that the gator had never bitten anyone.
That seems like a good quantifier. Or is that a qualifier? I'm not really sure where my English is anymore.
Yeah. So maybe Adam will get some of this and put it up because Terry is now showing us video
Of
on his
of
Instagram
Joey
page.
Henney and Wally Gator's Instagram page.
He loves belly rubs.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he does.
That thing's real cute until it's like 9 feet long.
And he likes to give hugs, according to Henney. Now, listen, I guess if it works
He
for
likes
this...
to hug people with his mouth and then spin around real fast while he's hugging you.
And thrash them about. I guess if it works for this Pennsylvania man, more power to him. But I can tell you, I am not at all interested in getting a hug from an alligator.
I have never once seen an alligator and thought to myself, oh, I should get a hug. And this is being said from a person who lived in Liberty
Yeah.
and has had an alligator in the yard.
Yeah.
Like, I never once thought to myself,
Well,
that alligator needs a hug.
I don't feel like you can open that up, so other people can bring their alligators too.
Totally. Well, with all of this said, there are probably weirder support animals than Wally Gator. So, after doing a bit of questionable research, those of us here at Drinking News,
wallaby, I guess.
yeah, those of us here at Drinking News have prepared a handy list for you of the top 5 emotional support animals more dubious than Wally.
Top 5 emotional support animals more dubious than Wally.
And here we go, number 5. Ricky the Rattler, owned by Jeb Rancherton of Liberty, Texas.
Oh, is this a real person? This is a real... Wow.
Number 4, Pearl, a white tiger owned by Joe Exotic, the Tiger King.
Was Pearl an emotional support animal?
I think it was for Joe Exotic.
Joe.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Number 2, Sammy the Skunk, the emotional support animal of Roscoe Smoot of Panama City, Florida.
Florida man.
Number 2, Sir Poops-a-Lot, an emotional support ferret belonging to Carl Boone of Boogertown, North Carolina.
Boogertown?
It's a real thing. Look it up.
Sir Poops a lot of Boogertown?
Are you of the Booger Town Poops a lot?
And the number one emotional support animal more dubious than Wally Gator, number one, Harvey the honey badger, who is currently missing from the home of Darnell Twigston in Paw Paw, West Virginia, who is a terrible support animal because we all know just what it is that he does not give.
He doesn't give any of those.
Reporting live from outside Central Bank Park in Philadelphia, where some guy just offered me $100 to watch his gator while he goes into the game.
This is really a guy from Liberty.
My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking News. Drinking News. That's our time for Drinking News.
Cheers, y'all. I just want to say, there have been a few things that have happened on this program over our 348.
It's easy. We have
episodes.
almost 400. Cut that in half. We got 348.
All right, so over the last 348 episodes, there have been a number of things that I've been incredibly proud to have been able to do or experience or say.
That's new math for all yous that are confused.
But one
I
of them,
said all yous because we were talking about Pennsylvania.
one of them is that I was able to, on this show, number 348, I was able to actually say on the mic the name Sir Poops a lot. That's been a kind of a lifetime
Sir
goal
Poops a
of
lot.
mine. Sir Poops a lot. And by the way, anyone who's ever had a ferret, you know what I'm talking about. Those animals poop their weight
Nice
every
marmot.
hour.
Every hour.
Every hour. I'm telling you. And they are what you might call semi-litter box trained, which means you'll do a lot of cleaning the litter box and a little bit of cleaning other stuff like your sock drawer and other things where the ferret finds a comfortable place to relieve him or herself. Yeah. So they're adorable creatures, but they are nasty. Yeah. But not like the honey badger.
The honey badger.
Honey badger.
Honey badger's
And
the
he's
best.
currently missing.
Yeah. Yes, he is. So if you see him, please notify.
You know what honey badgers really care about? Nothing.
Not a thing. Not a thing. They really, they've run all out of, things to give.
Right?
That's exactly.
Have you ever heard that song? I have no more, what's
Yes,
to
I
give?
have.
It's brilliant.
Yes, it is. It's very good. And it reminds me of one of my favorite sayings. And of course, we have to edit this because we're played on broadcast radio. But I think the saying goes, if an angel flew down right now and gave me a blank, I would have one to give you. An angel flew down, sat on my shoulder, and gave me one. Then I would have one to
Right.
give
I'd
you.
be able to hand you.
Yeah, I'd be
one.
able to hand it to you right now.
I mean, I left mine at home. Like they
Yeah.
sit proudly on my mantle.
I left my heart in San Francisco, and I left that in Liberty, Texas. I think is where I left that. So
Can't believe
anyway.
you found a guy in Liberty, Texas that has a
I
rattler.
was so thrilled about that because I knew, with your heritage and,
The
and,
rat-
and
yeah,
what have you
I
from
know Liberty
being
well.
from Liberty. So
I thought you were going to make up the animals, and then to find out they were real was what made me.
Brilliant, sir.
did I say at some point they were real?
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. I don't know. I'm not sure. If I stressed that point or not.
Brilliant.
But it does happen. So I just want to mention, getting back to spirits and the real point of the show, that this tequila does what almost all of my favorite tequilas do, which is, and it's not just because of the alcohol content, but the more you sip this, the better the flavor gets, the deeper the notes get.
deep,
and,
like resonant peppery thing that happens that I didn't detect at first.
and this is a more peppery. It's more peppery than a lot of my favorites, but I don't mind that. Now there are some tequilas, including like the Hornitos Anejo.
Hornitos is very peppery.
Yeah, it's really good, but only if you're okay with a lot of pepper.
Yeah, it's.
Because
I mean,
it's
that's
got
just a pepper.
lot.
Oh, sorry about that.
We're having a good
Terry's
show
like-
when the producer comes reaching
Terry's
for
like,
the
"Where's
tequila
my
bottle.
extra?"
So no, but Hornitos is an example. It's very good, but only if you like pepper. Like if you don't like a lot of pepper, that's not a tequila
Yeah,
for you.
right.
This one is not nearly that much pepper, but it does have enough to kind of like, I don't know, sharpen the flavors up a little bit.
But it builds a little bit. Like I'm on my third glass. Of
In fairness, the glasses have not been full.
No.
Yeah.
my third glass of research, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is the pepper builds a little bit, but it doesn't build in like it's too spicy kind of way. It builds in a very much like you're just getting a little more of this thing that you've been, it's there in the background, and it's really nice.
I'm going to say this is a highly recommended tequila. And we've had some really, really good ones. The last several that we've had on the show have been just really outstanding. Really outstanding.
I love the sweetness up front. You know, one thing we didn't talk about, there's almost no heat to this.
Right. A little tiny bit on the finish, but not much.
Yeah, I mean, like there's not a big tequila hug that comes back to get you or anything.
Which reminds me a little bit of the Skelly, which that's one of the reasons it's so dangerous because there's very little heat to let you know what you're imbibing.
And along with that pepper, there's a slight, tiny bit of butteriness to it that I've been like.
I was just
like
to
you
say
start
a
picking
buttery
it up.
quality. Yeah, but what I like about this is that the longer you continue to sip it, the more the flavors open up to you.
Yeah,
and I really like that. It's like, it's like watching a good movie or TV show, and it
helps you expand
unfolding
your mind,
as you go and expands your mind. By the way, remind me to talk to you about the terminal list. We will take a break and be back. We do have one more thing to taste, and it is called Old Engine Oil. It's an Engineer's Reserve Blackest Ale from Scotland. Oh, I did it again. I kind of nailed that, don't you
can't
think?
help yourself.
Man, I'm on fire. We'll be right back. It's Smoking
It's not
Toast.
Scottish, it's crap.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And as Ian is pouring our final craft beer, I just want to say I continue to enjoy this tequila more and more. It does this thing where it opens up the longer you sip on it. So I encourage you, if you try this, don't gulp it down right away. Sip on it so you can still be hanging around to enjoy as this thing opens up and almost like the bloom of a flower. So Ian just poured.
It doesn't disappoint in the name there, does it, when you look at it?
It's called Old Engine Oil, Engineer's Reserve, and boy, does it live, at least visually,
Man, you remember your
up
first,
to its name.
You remember your first car, and when your dad said, "Have you changed the oil in this car?" And you're like, "Change the oil." That's pretty much
what do you change it to?
That's it says Blackest Ale, and then underneath it has this very eloquent and poetic description of it. It says viscous, malt, chocolatey, and roasty.
So it sounds like something you would really dig. Viscous, malt, chocolatey, and roasty.
It is all those things just by looking at it. And it smells like burnt coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. like and meat broth almost.
So I want to tell you, I picked this up downstairs in my building at Phoenicia, the little grocery market there, where they have a really nice beer selection and a few that I've never seen before. And this was one of them. I was like, we should try this out. It looks like something we should try on the show.
The intensely flavored but incredibly smooth Engineer's Reserve is our fabulous Old Engine Oil, brewed up to 9% alcohol by volume. 3 hop varieties, Grassy Fuggles, Spicy East Kent Goldens, and Fruity Galena, are combined with roast barley, providing a slightly burnt toasted coffee character. Enjoy a bottle after dinner. Take time to savor the earthy, hop, fruity flavors of this spectacularly dark, rich beer.
It said something key in there, because what I get is almost a burnt coffee bean. You know when somebody left the coffee pot on for too long and it kind of crystallizes and burns, and it's one of those really bad aromas that still has some kind of good to it.
Kind of good.
You know what I mean? So if you took
you hate the smell of gasoline, but you kind of like it.
Yeah, right. So if you took just the good part of that, it kind of emanates from this
Blackest Ale. It's got enough drama in it. I kind of love it.
Is this your thing?
I like it. I would drink this in any situation.
Floating down the river.
This would be floating down the river at a baseball game. I'm fine with it.
I can't even imagine.
On the 4th of July, at the 4th of July picnic, right? Watching the fireworks. Yeah.
I can't imagine sitting there at a baseball game, eating those peanuts, dropping the shells all over the floor, right? Like you do, and drinking this. I can't imagine that. But I like it. I do.
I mean, and it is viscous. It is big. It is ridiculous. It's a little more carbonated than I expected, actually.
I agree with that.
There's more bubbles than I thought there would be, which I think gives it kind of a spiciness that I wasn't expecting.
I agree.
The bubbles kind of translate to a little spicy. The chocolate is there, but it is
chocolate on top of burnt coffee.
I mean, it is burnt chocolate on top of burnt coffee with like roasted malt burnt stuff too. This has an overall, like, if you love burnt toast, this is going to go well with it.
You know what's really good, and I'm not kidding, burnt cinnamon toast.
Oh no, I'm fine with that.
Oh, it's
like
wonderful.
If you can burn it to the perfect amount of burnt, it's perfect.
And while we're talking about burnt, let's just go ahead and say Elvis was on to something with burnt bacon, because the best bacon is like so crispy it's almost charcoal. That is bacon, my friend. That's wonderful. But no, the burnt old engine oil here is actually kind of working for me.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what's it going to do when I sip this
tequila?
And
I have no idea, because these seem like they'd be diametrically opposed.
So weirdly enough, going from the burnt roasty beer from Scotland to the tequila, it brings out way more of the agave.
I was going to say it's much more agave forward.
And grassy and more natural flavors. Going back to the beer is pretty awful.
Well, you're right. It doesn't do the engine oil any favors.
I know. It just basically reduces the beer down to a burnt. Like if you scraped all the burnt part of the toast off and then ate just the burnt part that you scraped off.
Just the charcoal.
That's what it kind of tastes like.
Toast charcoal. Well, I got to tell you, by itself, though, this is good.
It's pretty good.
It's not necessarily.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
I'd be curious. Like, this is so burnt flavored that I wonder if a cigar would even match with this. This is a big beer that I think that it'd be hard to find a cigar to go with this.
It's from Hillfoot's Village in Scotland. I'm thinking we might have to visit.
I'm in.
Have a good week next week. I know you'll be out next week.
I'll be in Minnesota for all you Minnesotans out
Jim
there.
Heim will be here with me. We'll drink and smoke and talk about it and have a good time. We'll see you when you get back. Smoking and Toasting is produced out of the RFC Media and Sweet Radio Studios in Houston, Texas, and we thank you for joining us for show number 348. Have a great week, my friends. Watch out for them gator support animals, and
I'll see you in 2 weeks, eh?
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
There I go. I've been told.